Miami International, 3:47 p.m. The passport ignited on the third flick Keisha Williams's face, bubbling into smoke, while 43 passengers filmed her humiliation. Obviously fake, Gate Agent Marcus Chen announced, waving the burning document. Nigeria, Dubai, Tokyo, people like you don't travel first class. Ashes scattered across Italian marble. The smell of burnt plastic filled Gate B-23. A child asked, "Mommy, why?" Her mother whispered, "Some people lie about who they are." An elderly black woman gripped her own passport tighter. Two pilots exchanged glances and hurried past. Keisha stood frozen in her Hermes blazer, memorizing every detail. Her phone lit up. Secretary Buttigieg calling. She declined, texted instead. Operation Sunlight is go. 8 minutes until boarding closed. Have you ever watched your identity burn while society applauded? Ever known your silence would destroy them all? 17 minutes before the burning. Keisha Williams glided toward Gate B-23, Toomey Spinner following like an obedient shadow. The Hermes scarf at her throat had cost more than Marcus Chen made in a month, but he didn't see wealth. He saw skin. "You, yes, you," his finger pointed like a weapon. "Step aside for additional screening." The words hit familiar as breathing. In 30 years of flying, Keisha had been randomly selected 73% of the time. She'd done the math, posted it once to an internal FAA database. Nobody responded. Marcus Chen stood rigid in his United uniform, badge number 447823. Former military, she assessed, the kind who missed having power over bodies. Passport and boarding pass. She handed both over, noting how his pupils dilated at the first-class designation. His thumb rubbed the passport cover, feeling for imperfections that would justify what came next. Nigeria, Qatar, Beijing. He pronounced each country like evidence. "That's unusual routing. I specialize in international aviation standards." Each word measured, neutral. Inside, she felt her blood pressure rising, 138/90, if she had to guess. Her smartwatch would confirm later. A white couple breezed past. Marcus didn't glance up. A businessman in a Stanford hoodie walked through arguing about stock options. No pause, but Keisha stood frozen, a specimen under examination. "Janet, got a minute?" Marcus's voice carried intentional volume. Performance required an audience. Janet Morrison arrived with practiced concern, supervisor badge catching fluorescent light, smile calibrated for plausible deniability. She studied the passport with theatrical intensity. "Marcus is right. This ink looks off, almost purple instead of blue." "That's the new biometric passport design," Keisha responded, implemented January 2024. Anyone could claim that. Janet's radio was already in her hand. "Security to B-23, possible 10 to 96. 10-96. Suspicious person." Keisha knew every code. She pulled out her phone, started recording. "For my attorney." "You can't film here," Marcus snapped. "Title 18, Section 1801 says otherwise. Additionally, Florida Statute 934.03 doesn't apply in federal facilities." She kept recording. "Please continue." His face darkened. Real anger now, not just routine harassment. "You think you're smart?" "I think I'm documented." She produced her global entry card member since 2011, her TSA pre-check, her Centurion card, black titanium catching light. "Would you like my federal employee ID as well?" That last part was bait. Marcus didn't bite, dismissing the cards with a wave. "Common fakes. I've seen Chinese websites selling full sets." Officers Rodriguez and Kim arrived, hands on equipment belts. Rodriguez was sweating despite the air conditioning. Kim kept glancing at his senior partner for cues. Both under 25, Keisha estimated. Both terrified of making wrong decisions. "Document fraud," Janet announced, refusing to comply with screening procedures. "I've complied with everything." Keisha's voice remained level. Her phone captured it all, evidence trail 1,247 in her career of documentation. A crowd materialized. Airport crowds always did, drawn to conflict like iron filings to magnets. A young man, Howard University hoodie, fresh haircut, went live on Instagram. "They're doing it again, y'all," flying while black at MIA. His viewer count exploded. 2,000, 5,000, 8,000. An older woman pushed forward. Navy dress, pearls, the bearing of someone who'd fought battles. "I'm Sarah Johnson, retired educator. I'm witnessing this interaction." "Ma'am, step back." Officer Kim moved toward her. "Young man, I taught students like you for 30 years. I know when to step back and when to stand ground." Sarah pulled out an ancient iPhone, started recording too. "This is standing ground time." The captain emerged from the jet bridge, 4 stripes on his shoulders, gray temples suggesting experience. His eyes found Keisha, recognition flickering. He retreated quickly, phone already at his ear. She heard fragments. "Inspector Williams? Yes, that one. Situation developing. Final boarding, flight 447, the speaker crackled. Doors close in 8 minutes. Marcus opened his podium drawer with deliberate ceremony. The lighter appeared silver, engraved, definitely not standard equipment. "These documents need immediate confiscation." "Under what authority?" Keisha asked. "Airport security protocols." "Which specific protocol?" "What section?" "What subsection?" She wrote every evasion in her leather notebook, the Department of Transportation seal now visible on its cover. Marcus noticed the seal, hesitated. Then his ego won. "I don't need to explain myself to you." Her phone buzzed. Deputy Secretary Williams, no relation, calling for the 4th time. She declined. Texted instead. Phase 2 initiated. All agencies stand by. The response was instant. "Confirmed. Recording everything." Marcus saw her smiling at her phone. It enraged him. This wasn't how the script went. She should be begging, crying, backing down. Instead, she stood there like she owned the airport. "You think this is funny?" He flicked the lighter. Once, twice. "Identity fraud is a federal crime. 10 years prison. So is destruction of government property." Keisha held up her passport. "This belongs to the State Department, not me. Destroying it is a felony under Title 18, Section 1543. Stop making up laws." The lighter flame danced. "Last chance. Admit this is fake." Sarah Johnson gasped. "He's not really going to—" "Yes," Keisha said quietly, "he is." She typed one final message. Asset confirmed. Commence Operation Sunlight. 43 phones were recording. 3 security cameras captured every angle. 1 FAA inspector stood perfectly still. Marcus Chen was about to become famous. 3:55 p.m. Final boarding. Doors closing in 5 minutes. The lighter danced between Marcus's fingers, performing a small silver ballet. He hadn't lit it yet, just spun it, catching terminal light, letting everyone see what came next. Power was sweeter when savored. You know what I think? He addressed the crowd more than Keisha. I think we've got someone who printed fake stamps in her basement, probably selling passage to terrorists. That's a serious accusation, Keisha said quietly, writing in her notebook. The Department of Transportation's seal on its cover caught light. Marcus noticed, dismissed it. Probably bought on Amazon. The crowd had stratified into layers. Inner circle. The invested. Phones out. Recording. Middle ring. The curious, pretending to wait for other flights. Outer edge. The uncomfortable. Wanting to leave, but unable to look away. 63 people, Keisha counted. Plus 3 security cameras, 2 ATM cameras, 1 news crew that just happened to be covering holiday travel. Where's your accent? Marcus pressed. All these African countries, but you sound American. I am American. I am. Real Americans don't need 30 visa stamps. Sarah Johnson gasped. Did he just say real Americans? The Howard students' live stream exploded. Comments scrolled too fast to read. His follower count jumped 18,000, 22,000, 25,000. Y'all hearing this? At Miami International Airport, Gate B-23. This is happening right now. A white businessman in the crowd spoke up. Look, I fly internationally for Microsoft. My passport looks the same. Marcus didn't even turn. Sir, please don't interfere with security procedures. What security procedure involves burning documents? The man persisted. The kind that protects passengers from fraud. Marcus's thumb found the lighter's wheel. Spark, nothing. Spark, nothing. Building anticipation. Keisha's phone buzzed constantly now. She glanced at the screen. Deputy Secretary. Status? FBI Miami. Agents standing by. Secretary. Buttigieg. Watching live stream. CNN. Breaking news. Requesting comment. She ignored them all, typing instead. Hold positions. Need complete evidence. Captain Robertson emerged from the jet bridge for the 3rd time, now with his entire flight crew. 4 flight attendants, first officer, all watching. The lead attendant, a veteran named Patricia, whom Keisha recognized from a previous investigation, went pale. Mr. Chen? Patricia called out. That's Inspector Williams. Marcus laughed. Inspector of what? Fashion? No, Patricia's voice shook. She reviewed our emergency procedures last year. She's… Pat, stop. Keisha's command was sharp. Patricia fell silent immediately. This was the moment. The crowd sensed it, pressing closer. Marcus felt it too. The energy shifting, but misread it as support. You almost had me, he told Keisha. Getting crew to lie for you? Smart. But I've seen every scam. The lighter sparked again. This time, flame appeared. Last chance. Admit this passport is fake. The passport is real. Badge number 447823. What you're about to do is a federal crime. Stop making up laws. The flame touched the passport's corner. The burning began slowly. Blue cover bubbling, releasing toxic smoke that triggered someone's asthma. The pages resisted at first, government paper being surprisingly resilient, then caught properly. Keisha's photo melted, her eyes disappearing into black char. No, no, no! A teenage girl in the crowd started crying. This is like the videos from history class, like the Germans burning. Hush! Her mother pulled her close, but everyone heard it. The parallel hung in the air, undeniable. Marcus held the burning passport higher, ensuring every camera caught it. This is what we do with fake. The Nigerian visa page curled into ash. Then Saudi Arabia, Japan, Brazil. Each stamp a memory. The Lagos Aviation Conference, where she'd identified critical safety violations. The Tokyo Symposium, where she'd presented new screening protocols. The Sao Paulo emergency response drill she'd supervised. All becoming smoke. "You're destroying evidence," Officer Rodriguez said suddenly. Everyone turned. The young cop looked sick. "If that's really fake, it's evidence." "You're destroying evidence." "I'm securing the airport," Marcus countered, but his hand shook now. The passport fell into the bin, final pages combusting. Ashes rose on the air-conditioning current, dispersing across the gate area like gray snow. One flake landed on a child's head, another on Sarah Johnson's phone screen. She kept recording. "Instagram? You see this?" The Howard student had tears streaming down his face. "They just burned her whole identity. Like she's nothing. Like we're all nothing." Janet finally spoke, voice brittle. "Marcus, maybe we should..." "Should what? Apologize? Back down?" He turned on her. "You verified these were fake. I said they looked unusual. You said fake." They were turning on each other. Keisha wrote it all down. Time, 3:58 p.m. Perpetrators fragmenting. Phase 3, imminent. Her phone rang. She didn't answer but hit speaker, letting it go to voicemail. The voice that filled gate B23 was unmistakable to anyone who watched the news. "Inspector Williams, this is Secretary Buttigieg. I'm watching the live stream with the President. We're appalled. You have full authority to proceed with emergency measures. Repeat, full authority." The President. Watching. Marcus's legs gave out. He caught himself on the podium, lighter clattering across marble. You're really... I'm really what?" Keisha kept writing, not looking up. "Be specific." "Federal," he whispered. "Louder, please, for the recording." "You're federal." "I'm Chief Inspector Keisha Williams, badge number 001, Federal Aviation Administration, Security Compliance Division." Still writing, still not looking at him. "I've been conducting an undercover review of discriminatory practices at major airports. Congressionally mandated, federally funded, personally supervised by the Secretary of Transportation." She finally looked up. "You were the test, Mr. Chen. You failed." The crowd exploded. Applause, gasps, someone shouting, "I knew it!" Sarah Johnson was crying and laughing simultaneously. The Howard student had gone silent, just holding his phone steady as history unfolded. "But," Keisha continued, and everyone quieted, "I haven't shown you my badge yet." Confusion rippled through the crowd. If she hadn't shown her badge, how did they know she was really... "Because," Keisha smiled for the first time, cold and sharp, "I wanted to see how far you'd go. How much evidence you'd create, how completely you'd destroy yourself." She reached into her blazer's inner pocket. "Mr. Chen, would you like to see my credentials now? Or should we wait for the FBI agents who just entered the terminal?" Everyone turned. Through the windows, black SUVs were pulling up to the jet bridge, agents in tactical gear emerging. "This isn't happening," Janet muttered. "This can't be happening." "It's been happening for years," Sarah Johnson said. "Just now someone's finally doing something about it." Marcus tried to run, took 3 steps before his legs gave out completely, sprawling across the marble. The lighter skittered away, stopping at Keisha's feet. She picked it up, examined it. "Engraved," she noted, "for excellence in security." The irony. She pocketed it. "Evidence." The first FBI agent entered, weapon holstered but visible. "Inspector Williams, we're ready for Phase 4. "Not yet," she said, still writing. "I need to document the full response time. 17 minutes from initial contact to arrival. Unacceptable for a federal facility." She looked at the crowd, at the cameras, at Marcus Chen sprawled on the floor. Now comes the interesting part. The FBI agents stopped 6 feet away, hands on weapons but not drawing. The lead agent, a black woman with graying temples, looked directly at Keisha. Something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, purpose. "Inspector Williams," the agent said. "Special Agent Denise Carter. We're here to support, not overtake." Marcus looked between them, confusion breaking through his fear. "You know each other?" "We've never met," Keisha said, finally reaching into her jacket. "But Agent Carter knows why I'm here." The badge emerged slowly. Gold shield, heavier than most people realized. The number 001 wasn't sequential, it meant first. First, Black woman chief inspector. First to be given this authority. First to use it like this. Federal Aviation Administration, Chief Inspector, Security Compliance Division. She held it steady, letting every phone camera focus. "Badge issued September 2019. 5 years of watching people like you, Mr. Chen. 5 years of documentation. Today was just the culmination." "You should have identified yourself," Marcus's voice cracked. "I did. 3 times. Keisha pulled out her phone, swiped to a recording app. Her own voice filled the gate area. "I'm documenting for my attorney. Timestamp, 3:47 p.m. That's illegal. Passports remain property of the U.S. government. Timestamp, 3:53 p.m. I'm federal. Timestamp, 3:59 p.m. Whispered, almost inaudible. But there. "You said it so quietly. You weren't listening. You never listen. That's why we're here." She turned to Agent Carter. "Did you get the warrant?" Carter held up her phone. "Judge Martinez. Signed 3 minutes ago. We can search every employee device, every computer, every record at this airport." Janet made a strangled sound. "You can't." "We can." Keisha pulled out a folder, thick with papers. "Miss Morrison, would you like to know what we already found? Your WhatsApp group, Gate Watchers, where you share photos of passengers you find suspicious. 93% are people of color." The crowd gasped. Several gate agents in uniform began backing away, trying to disappear. "Oh, don't leave," Keisha called out. "Marcus Thompson at Gate B19, Jennifer Chen at B21. We have your messages too. Got another one trying to act rich. Check out this ghetto princess with a Gucci bag. $20 says the Jordans are fake." Each quote landed like a slap. The named agents tried to run. FBI agents were already moving, blocking exits. "The best part?" Keisha continued, walking slowly around Marcus, who remained on his knees. "You documented everything, every bias, every assumption, every violation of federal law. You created the evidence that will convict you." Her phone rang. She looked at the caller ID, showed it to the crowd. "Deputy Secretary of Transportation," she answered on speaker. "Inspector Williams." "Keisha, it's Deputy Secretary Trottenberg. The secretary is in with the president. They want to know about Operation Sunlight." "Operation Sunlight?" The crowd leaned in. "Phase 4 initiated. MIA is the test case. If successful, we roll out nationally." "Understood." "You have full authority. The Attorney General is mobilizing." She ended the call, turned back to Marcus. "Do you know what Operation Sunlight is?" He shook his head. Transparency. Every gate interaction at every major airport. Recorded. Every passenger complaint investigated. Every agent who shows patterns of discrimination prosecuted. She paused. Your patient zero, Mr. Chen Sarah Johnson, stepped forward. Baby, I've been flying while black for 60 years. Been humiliated at every major airport in this country. Are you really going to change things? Keisha's composure cracked slightly, the first real emotion she'd shown. Miss Johnson, my grandmother flew from Alabama to Chicago in 1962. They made her sit in the cargo area, said her ticket was suspicious. My mother flew from D.C. to Miami in 1987. They strip-searched her because her jewelry was too nice. I've been randomly selected 73% of the time in my career. She looked directly at Sarah. Yes, we're really going to change things. The crowd was silent. This wasn't just about Marcus anymore. This was history happening. Captain Robertson stepped forward again, but this time he removed his captain's hat. Inspector Williams, I need to confess something. I recognized you immediately. You investigated our Flight 892 incident 2 years ago, the one we covered up. Everyone turned to him. Keisha waited. A black family was removed because a passenger complained about their smell. There was no smell. We knew it. We removed them anyway. Lost their grandmother's funeral. His voice broke. I've regretted it every day since. Your regret doesn't resurrect their grandmother, Keisha said quietly, but your testimony might prevent the next family's trauma. Patricia, the lead flight attendant, also stepped forward. I have recordings on my personal phone. 3 years of incidents I've witnessed. I never knew who to report them to. You do now. Keisha handed her a card. Federal Witness Hotline. It goes directly to my team. More people stepped forward. Employees, passengers, people who'd been silently carrying stories. Devante kept filming, tears streaming down his face. 68,000 watching, Ms. Williams. The comments are, everyone's sharing their stories. Keisha nodded, then returned to Marcus. Your daughters, Sophia and Emma, right? Ages 7 and 9? His head snapped up. How do you... We've been investigating you for 6 months. Every complaint filed against you. Every passenger you've humiliated. Every time you've used your power to make someone feel small. She pulled out a tablet, showed him a video. It was Marcus himself, recorded on airport security footage, making a young black girl cry. The girl couldn't have been older than his own daughters. Remember her? LaTanya Washington, 8 years old, flying alone to see her dad for the first time in 2 years. You accused her of stealing her own iPad, made her miss her flight. Her father, stationed in Afghanistan, had to wait another month to see her. Marcus sobbed, real, ugly sobs that echoed through the terminal. But here's the twist, Mr. Chen. Keisha knelt beside him, speaking quietly enough that only the closest phones could pick up her words. LaTanya's father? Major General Washington, Pentagon. He's been personally invested in Operation Sunlight since that day. She stood, addressed Agent Carter. Read them their rights. As the agents moved in, Keisha pulled something else from her pocket. A second passport, pristine, untouched. You asked about my travels, Mr. Chen. This is my diplomatic passport. The one you burned? That was my personal one. And yes, I let you burn it, because I needed you to show everyone who you really are. Entrapment! Janet screamed as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. U.S. Attorney Fitzgerald stepped into view. When had he arrived? Miss Morrison, I'm Michael Fitzgerald, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida. Entrapment requires coercion. Inspector Williams simply existed in your space while black. Your reaction was entirely your choice. He turned to the crowd. Anyone who witnessed this incident may be called to testify. Please provide your contact information to the agents. But something else was happening. Keisha's phone was buzzing constantly. She looked at the screen, then at the departure boards. Flights were being canceled, not all, but many. Delta, American, United voluntary suspensions at Miami International. The airlines are pulling out, someone said. They're canceling flights rather than risk investigation. It wasn't the whole airport shutting down that would have been unrealistic, but major carriers protecting themselves, creating a ripple effect that would strand thousands. The economic pressure would be enormous. "Inspector Williams," a new voice called out. A woman in an expensive suit pushed through the crowd. "Veronica Nash, CEO of Miami International. Please, we need to talk." "We'll talk," Keisha agreed. "In federal court. Your airport has the highest discrimination complaint rate in the nation. Either you didn't know, which is incompetence, or you did know, which is complicity. Either way, your tenure is over." Nash went white. I can't fire you directly, but I can recommend federal oversight. I can trigger investigations that will make your position untenable. I can ensure every board member knows their personal liability if they retain you." Keisha smiled coldly. "You'll resign within 72 hours. That's not a threat. It's a timeline." As Marcus and Janet were led away, Marcus turned one last time. "Why me? Why was I the test?" Keisha considered the question. "You weren't specifically chosen, Mr. Chen. We tested 12 airports this month. Undercover inspectors, all minorities, all with legitimate documents. You're the only one who actually burned a passport. You went farther than anyone else. You won the worst prize possible." The agents disappeared with their prisoners. The crowd began dispersing, but slowly, everyone processing what they'd witnessed. Devante ended his live stream with, "Change doesn't come comfortable. Remember Gate B-23. Sarah Johnson had the last word, speaking to whoever would listen. I've waited 60 years to see this. Lord, let me live long enough to see what comes next." Keisha walked toward the exit, Agent Carter beside her. "The Attorney General wants to see you tonight. Tell him tomorrow. Tonight, I'm calling my grandmother. She's 93. She needs to know we finally fought back." Behind them, Miami International Airport buzzed with crisis. 3 airlines had suspended operations. The FAA announced emergency inspections. The economic impact would be millions. But at Gate B-23, a janitor quietly swept up the ashes of a burnt passport, careful not to miss a single piece. Evidence of the day, everything changed. The Ritz-Carlton Key Biscayne conference room reeked of defensive cologne and flop sweat. Emergency board meeting, they'd called it. 43 executives who collectively controlled American aviation sat around a table that cost more than most people's houses. Keisha entered alone. No entourage, no PowerPoint, no federal agents, just her notebook and a single folder. "You have 17 minutes, Richard Brennan announced. United's CEO didn't look up from his phone. "We have real crises to manage." "You mean the 4-point stock drop?" Keisha took the empty chair they'd left at the table's far end, the insult chair, reserved for people they wanted to feel small. "Or the 3 senators calling for hearings? Or perhaps the viral hashtag #GateB23 that's been trending for 18 hours. Margaret Chen, American Airlines board chair, set down her Mont Blanc. "Inspector Williams, What happened yesterday was unfortunate. Unfortunate is weather delay. Yesterday was criminal. Keisha opened her folder, pulled out a single photograph. Marcus Chen, mid-burn, passport flames reflecting in his eyes. This man was trained by your systems, promoted by your cultures, protected by your policies. One rogue employee, Michael Harrison, Delta's chief counsel, interrupted. Hardly our responsibility. One. Keisha pulled out her phone, opened an app. Should I read the WhatsApp messages from your gate agent's group chat? Got another uppity one at B15. That's your employee, Mr. Harrison, yesterday, 2 hours after Marcus was arrested. Harrison's jaw tightened. How did you— Federal warrant. Every employee device at MIA. She scrolled. Here's a fun one from United. Bet $50 the Jordans are fake. About a teenager who'd saved for 6 months to buy them. You can't use private communications posted on company Wi-Fi during work hours about passengers. She set the phone down. Your lawyers can explain how the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply here. Nash, Miami Airport's CEO, finally arrived, face flushed from running. Sorry, the protesters. 4,000 people outside, Keisha noted, calling for your resignation. Sit down, Ms. Nash. The room bristled. They weren't used to being commanded. Let me explain why you're really here, Keisha continued. The president's daughters saw the live stream. Asha is 13, Malia is 10. They asked their father why someone would burn a black woman's passport. He didn't have an answer. He called me instead. She pulled out a document, slid it down the table. The Aviation Dignity Act, drafted 6 months ago. We've been waiting for the right moment to introduce it. Brennan grabbed it first, flipped through, his face paling. This is— You can't require body cameras on all gate agents. Section 1. All customer interactions recorded. Cloud storage. Federal access. The unions will never. The unions already agreed. Conditional on one thing. Bad actors can be fired without arbitration. They're tired of protecting racists who make them all look complicit. Margaret Chen stood. This is ambush legislation. We need our legal teams. You need to listen. Keisha's voice never rose, but something in it made Chen sit. You have 2 options. Option 1, voluntary compliance. You implement these measures as industry-led reform. Take credit. Save face, stock prices recover within a quarter. Option 2? Harrison asked, though his expression suggested he knew. Federal Oversight Board, congressional investigation into 30 years of discrimination settlements. Criminal prosecution for executives who knew about patterns and did nothing. She paused. That includes everyone in this room. That's blackmail, Nash spat. No, blackmail is illegal. This is leverage. Keisha pulled out another paper. Forensic accounting of your discrimination settlements. $312 million over 5 years, hidden in operational expenses. Your CFOS thought they were clever. The room exchanged panicked glances. This went deeper than they'd realized. Here's my favorite, Keisha continued. United, 2019. Paid $3 million to silence a diplomat's family after they were detained for speaking Arabic. The diplomat? He now runs Saudi aviation contracts, worth $4 billion annually, which you lost to Delta last year. Brennan's face went purple. How could you possibly? Because the family kept records. They've been waiting for someone to care. She looked around the room. Every person you've silenced with money? They kept records. They've been waiting. I gave them my direct line. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Speaking of which, CNN just got exclusive interview with LaTanya Washington. Remember her? 8-year-old who Marcus made cry last year? Her father is Major General Washington, Pentagon. He's very articulate about institutional racism. "Turn it off," Harrison pleaded. "We'll negotiate." "I don't negotiate. I inform." Keisha stood, walked to the window. Outside, protesters filled the street. See them? Everyone has a story. Honeymoons ruined, funerals missed, dignity destroyed. They're not going away. What do you want? Brennan's capitulation came out strangled. Full implementation, 90 days, cameras, training, oversight, and a compensation fund $500 million for victims. That's impossible. Delta spent $4.2 billion on stock buybacks last year. Americans spent $3.8 billion. United, $3.3 billion. You have money. You lack will. Nash tried one last angle. The logistical complexity alone. Ms. Nash, you installed 5,000 security cameras after 9/11 in 45 days. Don't insult my intelligence. The room fell silent. These were people who'd never been cornered, never been powerless. The sensation was alien. Harrison pulled out his phone, typed rapidly. "I need to call our board. You have 10 minutes, all of you. Call who you need. When I return, everyone signs or I hold a press conference with the families." Keisha moved to the door. "Oh, and the president is expecting my call at 3 p.m. He'll want to know if he needs to sign an executive order." She left them to their panic. Outside, Agent Carter waited. "Recording everything? Every word. Legal says it's admissible if they claim coercion later. They won't. They're calculating losses." Keisha watched through the glass door as executives frantically made calls. They've already decided. This is just performance. 10 minutes later, she returned. The atmosphere had changed, resignation replacing resistance. Margaret Chen spoke first. "We'll agree, with modifications. Implementation in phases, 90 days, full implementation, non-negotiable. The cost? $1.2 billion across all airports. You'll make it back in federal contracts once you're deemed compliant. The military is very interested in discrimination-free transportation for service members." That changed everything. Federal contracts were worth billions. Brennan pulled out his tablet. "Send the agreement." One by one they signed, each signature a small death of the old way, a grudging birth of change. Nash was last. "You've destroyed my career." "No, your silence about discrimination destroyed your career. I just documented it." Keisha collected the signatures. "Press conference in 1 hour. You'll all attend. You'll apologize real apologies, not lawyer-scripted nonsense. You'll announce these changes as your initiative. And if we don't, then every sealed settlement becomes public. Every victim gets my personal cell. Every reporter gets an exclusive." She moved to leave, then turned back. "Mr. Chen faces 25 years. Miss Morrison, 15. They'll serve 5 to 7. Every gate agent in America will remember that when they see a black passenger." Harrison couldn't resist. "You think fear will change behavior? Fear started this. A different fear will end it." Keisha looked at them one last time. "My daughter is 12. Last week, she asked if she should straighten her hair before flying to Paris. Said maybe they'd treat her better. She let that sink in. 90 days. Make sure no 12-year-old ever asks that question again." The door closed softly, but the sound echoed like judgment. Through the window, She watched them sit in silence, powerful people finally feeling the weight of consequences. Her phone buzzed. Devante had posted another video. Day 2. The revolution is just beginning. 3 million views in an hour. Change never came comfortable. But sometimes, if you were patient, if you were precise, if you waited for exactly the right moment, sometimes you could burn down an entire system with a single lighter. 93 days after Gate B-23, Marcus Chen sat in federal processing, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on his shrinking frame. The television in the common area played CNN. Former gate agent Marcus Chen was sentenced today to 12 years for destruction of federal property and civil rights violations. Someone changed the channel. Even criminals had limits on schadenfreude. His daughters hadn't written. His wife had filed for divorce on day 60. His mother stopped answering calls after the video hit Chinese social media. Overnight, he'd become the face of American racism to 1.4 billion people. Meanwhile, Gate B-23 had become a pilgrimage site. Not officially, the airport discouraged it, but people came anyway. Took selfies, left flowers. Someone had scratched "Never Forget" into the marble before security noticed. The real change was messier than headlines suggested. Timothy Park, the new agent at B-23, wore his body camera like armor. Every interaction recorded, uploaded, reviewed. The green light blinked constantly, protection and prison simultaneously. The cameras help, he told reporters, but passengers test us now. They know we can't react. Last week, a white passenger had called him a diversity hire chink on camera, knowing Park couldn't respond forcefully. The passenger was banned from the airline, but Park still heard the words at night. Reform was complicated. Sarah Johnson flew monthly now, documenting changes for the NAACP. Her report was mixed. Overt discrimination down 73%. Subtle bias harder to measure. Black passengers still randomly selected 2.3 times more than whites. Progress, not paradise. The Williams protocols, everyone called them that, now had spread to 47 airports. Body cameras, AI monitoring, monthly reviews. But implementation varied wildly. Minneapolis led compliance 98% rating. Phoenix struggled at 61%. Miami, ground zero, sat at 79%. Better, not best. Change takes time, Keisha told Congress during her fourth testimony. We're undoing centuries of bias. 90 days was just the beginning. Senator Hawley had attacked her. You've destroyed careers, cost billions, created federal overreach. I've held people accountable, she'd responded. If that destroys careers, what does that say about those careers? The clip went viral, 6 million views, but death threats followed. Her daughter's school needed security now. The price of change included bulletproof glass. Janet Morrison worked at a Subway in Coral Gables. The plea deal saved her from serious prison 2 years, out in 9 months with ankle monitor. But Google made her unemployable. Every application ended with, "We've decided to go in a different direction." She'd written Keisha once, "I'm sorry for what I did." "But did you have to destroy my entire life?" Keisha hadn't responded. What was there to say? That actions had consequences? That silence was complicity? Janet knew that now. The compensation fund had paid $312 million to 6,847 victims. Not all the 847 from Miami, the investigation had uncovered thousands more nationwide. Average payout? $45,000. Enough for some closure, not enough for justice. LaTanya Washington, now 9, had spoken at the Aviation Dignity Foundation launch. The man who burned that passport made me scared to fly. But Miss Williams showed me brave people change things. Her father, Major General Washington, stood behind her, full dress uniform, tears unchecked. The Pentagon had implemented their own protocols after his daughter's story. Military families would never face discrimination at airports again, at least not without consequences. But resistance persisted. 3 airlines sued, claiming federal overreach. The Texas Attorney General filed an amicus brief supporting them. Fox News ran nightly segments on airport tyranny. Some gate agents quit rather than wear cameras. Others maliciously complied, following every rule to absurd lengths, creating hours-long delays. Williams' work slowdown, they called it. Keisha expected this. Reform threatens power. Power fights back. We keep pushing. Her team had documented 1,247 new violations despite the protocols. Subtle things, extra screening for aggressive hairstyles, extended questioning about unusual names, skepticism about black passengers in first class. "We're not done," she told her team. "We're just beginning." Devontae Williams, his follower count now at 1.2 million posted daily updates. His lens shifted from rage to resilience. Day 93, Phoenix Airport. They're learning. Agent asked about my camera before my ticket. Small win. Day 94, Dallas. Older white agent helped black family with stroller without being asked. Progress? Day 95. Miami, Gate B 23. They replaced the trash bin, can't replace the memory. Captain Robertson had survived, barely. Testified against his own airline, completed 300 hours of retraining, now led compliance efforts. Half called him traitor, half called him transformed. He called himself tired, but trying. The real monument wasn't a plaque or policy. It was the 13-year-old black girl who walked through Atlanta Airport, first-class ticket in hand, natural hair proud, unafraid. She'd never heard of Gate B-23, but she lived in its aftermath. That was worth every death threat, every lawsuit, every smear campaign. Keisha kept the ashes of her burnt passport in a crystal urn on her desk, not as trophy, but as reminder. Freedom required vigilance. Justice demanded documentation. Change came through discomfort. 6 months later, discrimination reports had dropped 67%. Not perfect, not paradise, but 67% fewer children would ask if they should change themselves to fly safely. That math mattered more than any verdict. 18 months after Gate B-23, Marcus Chen's daughter, Sophia, stood at the same spot where he'd burned the passport. She'd insisted on coming against her mother's wishes. "This is where Daddy became famous?" she asked, 10 years old and too wise. Her mother nodded, unable to speak. The divorce was final. The house sold. The shame permanent. Marcus wrote from Otisville weekly. Sophia never opened the letters. Her sister Emma burned them, irony not lost on anyone. Meanwhile, Keisha Williams had done something unexpected, disappeared. 6 months after testifying before the United Nations Human Rights Council, she'd resigned. No farewell tour, no book deal, no Netflix series, just gone. She surfaced occasionally training aviation inspectors in Nigeria, consulting for the European Union's new dignity protocols, teaching her daughter to garden in her grandmother's Alabama yard. "Why'd you quit?" a reporter had asked, finding her at a farmer's market. "I was becoming the story." The work needs to be bigger than one person. The work had indeed grown bigger. These weren't just black stories anymore, but global reckonings. The European Union adopted Williams standards. Japan implemented dignity gates. Brazil created an entire department monitoring discrimination. These life stories rippled outward. Gate agents in Mumbai watching body camera training videos. Airport executives in Dubai studying the lawsuit settlements. A grandmother in Seoul telling her granddaughter about the American woman who changed everything with silence and documentation. Devonte Williams' 1.8 million followers now had evolved from witness to chronicler. His daily posts tracked progress and regression. Day 547, JFK They're Learning. Black family upgraded to first class after random selection. Accountability works. Day 548. Phoenix failed another audit. Some places need generational change. Day 549, Gate B23, anniversary tomorrow. Miami promises memorial. We demand systemic change. These weren't just touching stories of individual triumph, but real-life stories of institutional transformation. Imperfect, incomplete, but irreversible. Sarah Johnson, now permanent board member at Miami International, had instituted monthly dignity walks, executives working gates, experiencing frontline power dynamics. Last month, the CEO had been randomly selected 4 times in one shift. He'd finally understood. The numbers told one story. Discrimination complaints down 71%. Federal lawsuits decreased 83%. Customer satisfaction up across all demographics. But individuals told another. The young black pilot who walked through airports unquestioned. The Nigerian professor whose credentials were believed. The little girl with afro puffs who flew to Paris without her mother's fear. Marcus Chen would serve 8 more years. His daughters would be adults when he emerged. They'd change their names, move cities, try to escape the shadow of Gate B23. But somewhere, a 13-year-old black girl would board a plane, first class, unafraid, never knowing she walked through doors that Keisha Williams had burned open with someone else's hatred. That was the real monument. Not plaques or policies, but children who'd never know the weight their parents carried. The system that created Gate B23 still exists. It's just harder to see, better at hiding, more careful with cameras. What discrimination have you witnessed? What did you do? What will you do next time? Your silence is complicity. Your voice is power. Your phone is a weapon. Share this story. Subscribe for accountability. Comment your experiences below. Every airport is watching. Make them nervous. Number sign. Gate B23. Number sign. Dignity can't wait. Number sign. We are all watching.